What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broach. It's a shame that the Sixers picked up the washed-up version of James Harden. Are you serious with that effort? 16 dimes, pick and roll, pick and pop, step-back threes, you name it. This dude is sensational. And while it wasn't the prettiest outing in the entire universe, there was adversity hit on the road against a scrappy team. I get it. The Knicks are not very good. And I'm sure that everyone wasn't thrilled with Tobias Harris's effort and with how some of the game played out throughout that stretch towards the end. But here's what I know. It was their second game with a new floor general, and they faced some tougher moments. They answered the bell. And I know Tobias got ripped heavily, as he should, but that was a major three that was made. And my biggest takeaway out of everything, and I love the two-man game between these two, and I can't wait to bring up 6,000 examples that blow my mind. But when I watch Tyrese Maxey take the three to pretty much put the dagger in the victory, when Joel Embiid passes you the ball, look, put yourself in his perspective, or in his shoes, I should say, and look at it from that perspective. You're playing with the best player on the planet. There's also James Harden on your team. I want the moment. Give me the moment. I want to take the three. And he drilled the step back with ease. Last year, he shot the ball 30% from behind the arc. This year, he's taken way more threes. He's way more confident, and he wants the shot at the end. Think about being in your second year playing with Joel and go, no. That's cute. I want it. And that's basically what we have in Maxey. Well, James Harden, after the game, admits, I barely know any plays. I'm just out there casually letting it go. This is him casually just playing the game with this free-for-all type of effort of go out there, try and communicate a little bit more, see what some of the players like, get them the ball and distribute it where they feel most comfortable. There'll be hiccups. There'll be some possessions you would like to have back, but just go out there, and from there we can adjust what we love and what we don't like so much, and then we can even tweak some more and figure out what we can do better. But this is just the let's see what we have style of play. And in case you didn't realize, this style of let's just see what happens, you can't stop them. Don't bitch and complain that the game's too long or something along the lines of the fouls are too aggressive. The reason why the other team is putting Embiid to the line, the amount of times that they do, is because you can't stop him. It's because he has so many tools in his bag that you have to guess. And even if you guess correctly, you're not good enough to stop him. So why is this happening? The Sixers are too damn good. That's why the fouls are happening. It's not the referees just calling calls just to call them. They cannot stay in front of the big man. They cannot stay in front of James Harden if he's driving. There were so many times that I loved beautifully watching. I didn't love the fact that the Sixers were in this position where they needed to stop the bleeding. But when the blood had to be stopped, here's James Harden with an answer. Whether it was a step back followed by a drive and fouled as he drew contact, and then another step back in that sequence, or there's just, hey, I'm with bench guys, and it's not the most beautiful brand. Let me slow it down. See, sometimes you have to rely on your head coach. There's a 12-2 push by New York. There's a 10-0 run by New York. I'm just spitballing some numbers here, right? And then it's like, hey, Doc, why don't you slow things down? When you have superstars and very high IQ individuals that have the ball in their hands majority of the game, they know how to do that within the game. Slow it down, get fouled, answer with the shot of your own that you know you're going to cash in on, which then obviously changes the run that the opposing team is on. James Harden, I love to just utilize the quarterback as the perfect example of what he does. And it's not just distributing the ball as a passer, but then it's also when you're utilizing the pick and you're coming around the screen, dribbling the basketball, he fully lets it play out. There's poise. There's patience. Do I hit Embiid rolling? And by the way, how many times do we see that executed perfectly? Where as he's actually rolling to two-handed slam with a powerful dunk down the lane, or it's an alley-oop. Not that I'm surprised, because Joel Embiid gets better in every single damn area. Whatever he does, he shows up and he performs even better as the weeks move forward. Whether it's three-point shooting, whether it's post presence, whether it's passing, whether it's feeling out whatever defense is throwing their way, he has matured in every area. Knowing James Harden was going to be your point guard, that, yeah, I figured within 5, 6, 7 games that the pick and roll would be somewhere that would make us feel comfortable. And here we are 2 games in, and this is magnificent. And it's not just hitting Embiid, but let's say that he sees what's developing with his eyes, and now it's Maxey that's wide open, that now has a lane to go straight, a straight line, and then maybe utilize the floater, or maybe it's a mid-range game, or he's just not afraid to shoot it. So it's not just about what Embiid does in the role, but it's how the role opens up the entire court for everybody else involved. And that's why I'm just in awe of him reading the defense. We haven't seen that. Not because I'm surprised. I knew he could. The history of James Harden told me that he will be just fine. I've seen his style of play, and I know how dominant it is. His passing game, he averaged just under Chris Paul, the second most assists in the NBA at this season to this point. And now you put him in a role to play as a primary point guard instead of playing with a Brooklyn Nets team that had Kyrie sometimes, but a very ball-dominant perimeter player. Kevin Durant, a very ball-dominant perimeter player. You didn't see this coming. I figured it would happen. It's just I'm now appreciating it in the moment. That's the difference. I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. 16 apples, 16 dishes, and finding so many different players in so many different ways and putting them in great positions to succeed. That's great. I'm not surprised. The dude doesn't just fall just into 10 assists per game with Brooklyn. You don't just accidentally get that. You're good at it. You're damn good. And now you're seeing triple doubles. This dude's electric. He's dynamic. He's a top 75 player in NBA history. He's a Hall of Famer. So all this noise and reaction to, oh, James, what did you and why didn't you expect this? Why didn't you expect great players to play great together and actually do lethal damage? Let me know. Please, let me know. Now, Tobias Harris, we've been through it. Bad game. Really bad game. I understand. It's awful. But I'm not ruling him out. Look what the team did without him. He's not a 3-for-9 guy. Last game, he was 2 for 9. He's not that atrocious. And that major three, give him credit. He was a plus 25, too. He was a team high in plus minus. That doesn't mean that he gets to escape without getting any sort of blame, because he was problematic for sure. I thought he created separation nicely with like a spin around move right at that free throw line and then came up very short. His confidence right now is definitely low. I've seen him work himself out of a jam, though, earlier this year, where it was this style of play responded with a 5-week span of some good hoops. So I do feel deep down that you've seen enough out of Tobias Harris in his entire career to know that he's not a 2-for-9, a 3-for-9 type of player. I would like him to be more in that 12 range, although he did have 4 free throws. So you kind of had him in that 11 range or so. But give it time. It was brutal. It was ugly. But give Tobias time, because I've seen too much out of Tobias to say this is who he is. You're working with essentially a new quarterback. And other players have implemented themselves very well. But with Tobias, and it's not why Charles Barkley thought it was going to happen. Barkley thought he would take awful shots all night long because he would try to get his. He's not taking a lot of shots. He's finishing with 9 shots or so. So he's just missing, especially in Minnesota, just missing shots that he normally makes. So I'm willing to give him more time. This team is a damn good team, and I think that there's a lot of positives to focus on, more so than the negatives. 16 dimes from your point guard. Oh, you're going to miss so much in Ben Simmons and his facilitation. Oh, it's going to be so ugly. You got a better facilitator. You absolutely did. He can grab rebounds, too. So I know this team, sometimes it's irritating to see Julius Randle grab some boards, kick it back out for Quickly or anybody else to get another shot. Fournier, you name it. I can't stand it from that aspect, but he could rebound. He could rebound very well. 5 steals, too. Not that he's a defensive warrior, but I don't want to downplay those 5 steals. Thibault? I'll get to Thibault. But we do have Frank from EHT on hold on the Anytime Hotline. We can start implementing some phone calls with you out there. 856-442-9805 is the phone number. Let's go to Frank in EHT. Frank, what's happening, bro?
Hey, bros. How are you, my friend?
I am feeling great. I'm in a great mood right now. This team is must-watch television, and I'm having a blast.
Yeah, I can't. This week is going to be an interesting week. You got the Knicks at home, Cleveland at home, and at Miami. I'd like to see at least 2 out of 3.
Definitely. And I think after that Miami game, there's another tough one, and then there's the Brooklyn Nets. So you do have an interesting span coming up here. And yeah, it's a good test for sure. I don't think I'll overreact one way or the other. I'll be extremely happy if they win. But if something happens and they lose a game, or it is what it is, there's still time for this team to have to learn and adapt. So we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, context matters.
Right. The only thing I worry about, and it's a little bit ahead to get a game, but the playoffs, are they going to go to the free throw line as much, or because it's more physical, they're not going to give them the fouls?
Probably not as much as you saw in something like today, but there is a real issue here if you're on the other team, and that's I don't know how I can stay in front of them. So they naturally do cause a lot of trauma for these defenders because they're that hard to stay in front of. And they do get a lot of free throws in the postseason too. I don't know if it'll be to this aggressive amount, but it's still going to be to a lot and to a serious degree where it's going to benefit this team.
Absolutely, especially in the final minutes of a game. It's not like you have to get a bucket. As long as you get fouled, you get to the free throw line.
Right. I mean, pick your poison. That's what it comes down to if you're defending this team. And it's crazy because if you do put yourself in a position defensively to defend a Harden and an Embiid very well, then the ball is flying around to Tyrese Maxey. And his change of pace and his speed is so electric that I don't know how. See, Embiid and Harden play a certain pace of play. And then Maxey's like this energizer bunny that just goes to like the 10th degree, and you're stuck. You're stuck in mud at that point.
Right. And honestly, I think Tobias, as long as he gives us like 15 to 17 a night, this team will be hard to beat.
Definitely.
He doesn't have to be a 20-point-a-game scorer.
And he probably won't be. And thanks, Frank, so much. He probably won't be due to the amount of shots, and sometimes he will, but you're probably right. More in the higher teens. If Tobias gives you 17 instead of 12 tonight, and it's a little bit more efficient, you're in a different position. But if it's a more efficient 17 and Maxey's doing his thing, and let's say Maxey gives you 20 or 19, and Embiid's giving you 37, and Harden's giving you all the distributing while also grabbing boards and scoring, and his step-back threes are so damn lethal. When you see these slow-mos of him basically having the ball right into his chest area, and he's thinking to himself, yeah, he knows exactly what I'm about to do, and I know what I'm about to do, but guess what? There's nothing they can do about it. A quick little step back and nothing but the back of the net. Imagine. So I understand the feeling of maybe in the postseason, the refs have a tighter whistle. And even during the back end of a game, if it's the fourth quarter, do they want to be the one to put the team on the free throw line? Or will they say, man up, play man to man, and let's see what happens? And obviously, when you get down into the playoffs, they're a little bit more, or they're less lenient, I should say, on those calls. Yeah, but you'll still have enough. Because from a 7'2" body frame with rolling, you're going to just automatically draw contact. You're too big of a man. You're too big of a species. You're too big of a human being moving too fast. It's inevitable. It really is. Back to the phones we go. Good evening. You're on with Broads.
Hey, Broads. How are you?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. So a couple of quick things I want to get off on my chest. Joel Embiid, James our best one-two punch.
Definitely.
Maxey reminds me of Dwayne Wade because he's so fast. He's like Flash 2.0.
Okay.
And then I was at the game against Boston where Matisse got hurt. The one where Schroeder pushed him a bit and Matisse fell on his back.
Yeah, when he fell trying to do the slam dunk, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst injury I've seen in person.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could imagine, and thanks so much for the phone call, that would be a scary sight. And I think that's a perfect segue, though, into the Matisse Thybulle thing. Now, Matisse Thybulle was excellent at cutting. He realized when that he should move off the ball, and he's recognizing, based off of where some of these players are and the way the defenses are being drawn out to them, that Thybulle has an open space in the paint, and there were some good dishes involved and just good knowledge by Matisse. And I tell people all the time that you are in a great position to succeed when your superstar talent is James Harden and Joel Embiid. So they will make up for flaws on other players within your starting five. Now, Matisse Thybulle cannot shoot the basketball. It's just reality of the situation. I do not feel good ever when the ball leaves his fingertips. And there was even a time in this game where Harden passed up a wide open look to see Thybulle wide open next to him. Go, what are you doing? I'll live and die with a Harden 3 over a Thybulle 3. Be more selfish, James. James, please. I don't ever want to see that again. I don't ever want to see a Thybulle 3 again. I want you to take a shot while 5 guys are contesting you from the logo, overpassing it to Matisse Thybulle there, please. But in all seriousness, if he just cutted and gave you, 6 points in 35 minutes of play off of 3 cuts, can your superstar talent make up for the deficiencies that a Matisse Thybulle has, that a Doc Rivers has, that some of these players do? Because even the greatest teams that win championships, the LeBron James-led Miami Heat, not their entire team was fantastic. They had plenty of role guys that were just guys and had issues. But but Bosh and Wade and LeBron, they did their thing and made the team rise to the next level. And that's why even when I hear this nonsense about Harden, he's out of shape, he doesn't want to be out there, it's full of crap. It's just a silly narrative. It's nonsense. You hear him post-game, there's nothing more that he wants to do other than win a Larry O'Brien. We've been praising the big man all year long for his willingness and determination to take everybody on this franchise in a backpack and say, I will lead you there. We praised it. We've literally been in love with every step of the way of Joel Embiid showing how bizarrely obsessed he is with winning a title. And that's what it takes to win. Harden has the same thing. He has the same exact thing. Don't say, oh, but he did this, he did that. James Harden has the same exact motivation. And if you don't see that by the way that he's out there balling, then you're missing out on a huge piece of what has been on display for the last 2 games. You are running a professional NBA offense. And if you mock that, well, they only beat the Knicks. Shut up, Broge. Or they only beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Who cares? Yeah, sure, there's validity to saying that these teams aren't the greatest in the world. But it's not really about did you win or lose on your Sunday or Friday night of the regular season as we're about to enter March. It's does this relate? Does this style of offense that you're running make sense for the long term of an NBA team? Can you actually run this style of play in the most important parts of a playoff series? And the answer is yes. This all works. Pick and roll in the NBA. Ding, ding, ding. Welcome to 2022. You just couldn't do it because of the fraud that wore 25. He was never a threat. James Harden is a major threat. It's just that simple. It really is. So all of this works. Picks and pops, picks and rolls. Tyrese Maxey being the most wide open I've ever seen. Every game, he's just camping out, wide open. Why do you think he's wide open? There's so much annihilation that you have to be aware of when you're the Knicks or you're the Minnesota Timberwolves or you're anybody else. That a great team that has some phenomenal players surrounding the 2 most important, you're screwed as long as the execution's there. And I do anticipate a Tobias Harris getting better. I know it's the easy target. I really do. I know it's the easy blame game. And when you win a game like this, I don't know how your focus is on anything other than, whoa, hold on a second. So Tobias is having a couple tough games. That's your focus? I'll be honest with you. Even if Tobias isn't great, I still think you have enough to do the ultimate job. That's how great your 2 best players are. And Maxey being your 3A right now. So even if he's just average, I still think you have enough. while I get bringing it up, there's 9 billion positives right now. The Tobias factor, you're going to need him to have some moments, no doubt. But guess what? He did today. He could play like shit and garbage. But there was a big three. And he said, I'm going to shoot it. And he made it. Maybe other players pass that up, and then it ends up being a turnover, or there's hesitation, which I don't like when he hesitates and tries to do a pump fake with basically nobody there. I'm not saying you're not allowed to be disturbed by the Tobias Harris feature right now, but I'm also not just going to pretend like he didn't have a big moment, and we need him for some moments. You don't need to rely on him to be a James Harden. It's different now, and he'll always have the money tied to his name. I know that. He's better than 2 for 9, 3 for 9. He's been involved in the game for too long to be that poor. I'll use this as the example. It's not the same, but it's as the example. Whoa, James Harden's stats are down. I don't think he's going to be good anymore. Well, there's a lot of reasons why his stats were down, but I've seen a full body of work of James Harden to know that the outrageous thoughts of him being washed at 32 and being a bum and he stinks. I've seen too much good basketball to see James Harden play. I've seen him play. I've seen it. I know he's too good for that to be true. Oh, but look at his stats. It's this, it's that. He's too damn good, and he's been around too long to be that poor for time. And what do you know? He looks like a totally different player in Philadelphia. And he doesn't look like the same player that had 22, 10, and 8. He looks even better than that. Because what the stats told you for that window of time isn't really James Harden. He's even better. Imagine that being your floor. Same is said with Tobias Harris. He's better than what he's putting on display, and I'll let the window of his career speak for that. But there's no doubt that it's been uglier than I anticipated for his floor. His floor is devastating. No doubt about it. It's devastating. So he's got to find a way. He's got to dig deep. He did it earlier this year. He dug deep and put together 5 strong weeks. Got to do it again. Can't let this linger. With that, we go back to the phones. What's happening, bro? You're on with Broads.
What's going on, bro?
What's happening?
Good win. James Harden, man. This is going to be great going into the postseason. Like, I can't wait. People keep talking this and talking that. They don't know what they're talking about. Because what I see is just from the jump, they're flowing. And put 20 more games on that, we're going to be unstoppable.
I absolutely agree with you, where I know it's hard to commit to it and put all your emotions out there because maybe we're afraid of heartbreak. It's like meeting a woman or a significant other, your future significant other. You're afraid in the beginning to put your heart out there because you know maybe you can get hurt. But this team has it. We've watched the NBA Finals from a distance for so long. We've seen special talent play. We have that in Philadelphia now, and that's why, trade him for Sexton, get rid of him for anybody. No, you wait. And Daryl Morey not only pulled this off, but Daryl Morey pulled off the Josh Richardson, the Al Horford. This dude is a magician, and the fact that people didn't realize how strong he was in this league, there's a reason why the entire organization said, I'm doing everything in my power to get Daryl Morey. Think about what he just did right now.
That was just, and then we see him again, beat him again, hopefully more convincingly this time.
Yeah, on Wednesday night, you're saying?
Yeah,
for sure. It's going to be an amazing.
Home, right?
Yeah, it is home, and thank you so much. It's going to be amazing to think about that atmosphere. Now, I am going to be in the building, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I also have to do a bit of a knockout tournament through 97.5 The Fanatic, so I'll have to go out there and do a little knockout tournament afterwards. I got to bust out the free throws. I got to make sure I do a little dynamic warm-up, you know what I mean? I can't get Can't get too sore in the shoulder area after all these buckets I'm about to do. But in all seriousness, though, this James Harden thing, I mean, he even said it's an MVP chance, and he recognized that there were so many fans there that Wednesday is going to be obnoxious. Dude, I'm going to lose sleep. I can only imagine what the adrenaline rush is going to be for James Harden, who knows that we are obsessed with this man. Like, he's walking into the building, and I retweet the video of him just walking into the building saying, I can never get over this. And this is something that is so damn unreal to me. He's walking. He's walking. That's all. All he has to do is walk, and I'm losing breath. Right? He's taking jump shots in warmups, and I can't comprehend it. And then you see how he runs the floor, and he just sets everybody up for success. That's what it's all about. That's what you're supposed to do when you are a real point guard. Ben Simmons is not a real point guard, and I will bring him up again because now you're hearing reports, and I want to read it exactly the way that it's framed, because it is in regards to playing the Sixers March 10th, even though it really shouldn't be, which tells me even more when we use concept that context, this guy is an absolute liar. So sources, this is from Shams of The Athletic. Sources, Nets star, and I think it's unfair to even say star, Nets player, I don't even know if it's fair to say player, right? The guy doesn't play. Person of the Nets, Ben Simmons, is dealing with back soreness in reconditioning process that requires further strengthening of the area over a period of time before return to action. Then there's more. He quote tweets it and says, Brooklyn has no set timetable for Simmons' return. It's uncertain whether the three-time All-Star will clear necessary return-to-play hurdles for Nets' March 10th return trip to Philadelphia, but the team is treating it as day-to-day. Now, here's my thing. There's zero purpose on even mentioning March 10th. He's got back soreness. Why is March 10th even brought up? It should be irrelevant. Philadelphia, the game against, it shouldn't matter, right? Because there is a problem with his back. That's the first focus. That's the emphasis here. But once again, here goes little Clutch Sports boy. Clutch Sports, Rich Paul telling Shams to say something towards the public via Twitter to get a certain message out there. There should be no relevance to March 10th as a date at all with a back sort of, it's a lie. It's not true. The guy is a liar. I don't even know if he'll even play this season. The guy's a fraud, and I can't stand him. I can't stand him. But his name keeps popping up, and it should. And if you feel that, well, he's out of town, out of sight, out of mind, no, that's not true. When Carson Wentz leaves and Jalen Hurts is your starter, you look at what Carson Wentz was doing in Indianapolis. We needed that closure, and now we feel differently about the move. When Brett Brown was out of town, you move on from Brett Brown, you bring in Doc Rivers. Now you compare Doc Rivers to Brett Brown. And when James Harden is now in here running an offense, you move on from Ben Simmons. Yes, it is very fair to keep your eyes on whoever the alternative was, and then you see to tie it together on was it worth it or was it not worth it. And by the way, okay, I just have to tell you this. It was fucking worth it because look at the way that James Harden changes the entire team. You even saw the difference when Furkan was running point. And I hate Furkan. I do. I hate him. I hate him out there. But they can't even make inbound passes or passes into the post, I should say. They can't even make simple passes. Him and Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap's turning the ball over at half court. He's what we thought. He's a guy that's barely hanging on. That's for damn sure. All right. Thank you for holding on as we have some callers to the Anytime Hotline, and good evening.
Hey, what's up, Fred?
What's happening? Alex. Hey, Alex. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, man. Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
So, I got two things to say.
Okay.
First thing, can you believe that we spent 5 years with Embiid not having a single player who can both score on multiple levels and play make? And we went from that to having a few months of Maxey trying to be that to having fucking James Harden.
Yeah. I know. It really puts it into perspective when you see it play and then you watch some of these other good teams, right? And I know Phoenix doesn't have Chris Paul and all, but when you watch this league, you see it. You see what the top of the Eastern Conference looks like, and you see what some of these powerful teams in the Western Conference looks like. And then you realize, oh, hold on a second. your team can now do that too, and they could bang with the best, if not be the top of the best. And that's just a beautiful thing to think about.
It really is. Point 2. Love Paul Millsap. Have respected him for his career. Seems like a great guy. We obviously had to trade Drummond for the trade, but how stacked would this team be if we had Andre Drummond out there too?
Definitely.
To be able to have legitimate backup, especially the quality that Drummond would just be excellent with this team right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And thank you so much for taking the time to call in. Great points and great 2 things you shot our way. Absolutely. It would be totally different. You had a guy who was a rebound machine. This team struggles in that area, but obviously you do that every day of the week, and I know you know that as well. If it takes an Andre Drummond should never hold you back. If you didn't do it because of Andre Drummond, you're nowhere even close, right? Think about how many steps in the right direction. It's easier to find someone who can hold their own for 8 to 10 minutes maybe while Joel Embiid is on the bench compared to finding a James Harden. That doesn't happen. You don't just find those. You have to wait it out, and you have to have patience. Let's say you're a bad general manager and you just go, oh no, I don't know, Joel Embiid's playing well. Let me just trade Ben Simmons. If that's what you do, no, it takes a methodical approach. You got to get cute. You got to get fancy. You got to have balls. You do, to hold out and wait for it to happen. This didn't just happen overnight. Daryl Morey was taking a lot of public heat. He was taking a lot of public pressure by this fan base and by a lot of national media members. But he stayed true to what he knew was correct, and then he pushed all the right buttons, and here we have it. And he doesn't get enough credit, not just for this trade, but everything he did to turn around this roster. Al Horford, Richardson, it was a disastrous spot. And then boom, before you know it, here's what we have. And I'm anti next season discussion right now, but don't rule out Tobias Harris. Even though I'm not the biggest hater in the world, do not rule out a Daryl Morey move to acquire someone and move him to a different city and bring in a big money deal and get some dude in here who could be even a bigger force with a Maxey too, who's playing lights out. Don't rule it out. Daryl Morey is a magician, and he's fantastic. So all around, I can't be more proud of the way that this team is put together at the moment. Paul Millsap probably ain't it. I mean, I'm not a big Willie Cauley-Stein guy either. I don't know what they're going to do, but here's what I do know. You got to find a way to survive a 10-minute span. If Embiid logs in 38, and he scared me today, by the way, when he went down and grabbed that knee. It's always something. But guess what? It doesn't matter this year, and it doesn't matter anymore because of how much dedication he put to the offseason, how much dedication he put to the nutrition side of things. It's nonstop. He's so dialed in. He does the LeBron James method of taking care of his body, basically. I don't know if it's literally the same thing. I'm just using that as sort of the diagram, if you will, on what he does do and how he takes care of it. It's to a level of I'm putting everything into my body. So wrist, gushing blood the other day out of the finger, the knee, he just pops right back up and then he gets fouled and goes to line. I thought a caller, because I was on the Fanatic after the game was over, it was electric hearing people call leaving Madison Square Garden, and it was just a ton of energy for sure. It was an amazing time. One of the callers brought up, think about how much time Embiid gets extra for rest and Harden gets extra for rest when they're getting fouled so many times. He did the math. X amount of seconds per shot multiplied by how many free throws. And the only argument I had back to that was, well, the other players are resting too. It's not just like Joel Embiid gets to rest for an extra 15 minutes throughout the 48-minute game due to all the free throws and everybody else is running suicides while he shoots the ball. But then to counter my own counterpoint is I'll take the Sixers with more rest over any other team with more rest because, well, they have the more lethal top tier upper echelon talent. There's no doubt about that. All right, to the phones. Hello, you're on. Hello.
Yo, bro.
Yo.
Hey, what's up, man? It's Randy.
What's up?
Thanks for having me on.
What's up, Randy? Thanks for calling in.
Oh, good, brother, man. How about that game?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know. 1
I'm
o'clock.
telling you, bro, you look awesome, dude.
I agree. 1 o'clock on a Sunday, good vibes, nice outside. You know, maybe you have a couple cold ones early. Maybe you roll something up. I don't know, whatever your preference is. And you get to watch Harden and Embiid play a two-man game.
Dude, I feel like I'm watching Magic in the City since AI, dude. Like, it's unbelievable. I'm fucking stoked. You hear me, bro?
I do hear you, and I appreciate that. I'm right there with you. No knocks on AI, but this is a little bit different. That was the AI show, and he just had to demand him to do everything. This is more of a structured team, and this is Allen Iverson having the best big man, right? Imagine if Allen Iverson had Shaq of that era, and I know Shaq didn't have the versatility of Joel Embiid, but he had the dominating force that he had. So imagine an AI paired up with a Shaq. That's what we get. It's not Aaron McKee, right? We're not worried about Aaron McKee. We got Embiid. We got Harden. And I don't want to hear the complaining at all about the fouls. Try and stop them. You're not allowed to, though. You're not skilled enough. You don't have enough defensive player. And even if you did have a defensive player, you can't stop a 7'2" man rolling the way that he's rolling. And if he pops, I mean, we've seen him hit threes off the pop. What are you going to do? You want to push him and get into his grill? He can drive. Or you're going to put your hands into the mix, and then he'll throw his hands up and go, your hands were in my grill. He's going to walk to the line and cash in too. It ain't about anything other than this is lethal talent pretty much demanding their will on everybody else, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is real. This is legit. It really is. We got Gucci coming in with a $5 donation. Ben and his triple singles can't run forever. Ben and his triple singles can't run forever from Philly? What's the triple singles? Am I missing something? I hope KD holds him to his word that he wants to play March 10th. Oh, no, he's definitely not going to. That's already totally discussed, and it was mentioned today that Shams was not going, that Shams reported that Ben Simmons was not going to play March 10th. There's just no doubt. They set this thing up for a reason, and they made sure that this was known publicly just to shut it down already. So he played Tommy Toughnuts to the media, pretended he wanted to show up March 10th, but knew that he wouldn't. And by the way, he's nowhere close to game shape. How is that possible? Dragic is 92 years old, and they're already throwing him to the fire and forcing him to play. But a 25-year-old Ben Simmons, who was apparently putting in the work during all this time, is somehow not capable of playing. He's a fraud. I don't know when we see him play again. I think now there's so much noise nationally about him playing where I don't know if he can even get over that. And you know what? Shame on him, because he did that to himself if that's the case. Now, obviously, if I'm a betting man, I assume at some point his feet touches the court again. Someday. I would imagine so someday. But you know what, dude? You did this to yourself to put it to this level. It's pretty damn embarrassing for sure. We got $20 coming in from Kenny from South Park. Hello, Kenny from South Park. Haven't seen Harden this engaged and happy in a long time. And that joy that he has brought this to the squad after the entire Simmons saga. Harden, Embiid, and Maxey on D. This team is going to be a problem for many years. Yeah, well, I mean, Harden's not a great defender, even though I know he had 5 steals today. And even Maxey could get turned around a bit. So, they're not the greatest in the world defensively. They do have Matisse Thybulle defensively. They have Embiid defensively, but they're going to have issues. Rebounding, defense, there's going to be areas that struggle for sure. But you're absolutely right, which is not just Harden being all locked in and fueled up, but it's the brotherhood of the team. This team cares for one another. They have a vibe for one another. How about when Maxey got the pass from Matisse Thybulle on that fast break and he finishes the bucket? He's laying on the ground and he's pounding the court as hard as, I don't know if it was as hard as possible, but you could see him smiling and banging the court. This team is just filled with brotherhood right now and so much care for one another, and that goes a long way. It's not the only thing, because we know Kobe and Shaq did it just fine with a lot of toxic built up in between each other and all that. But there's something to be said about how much this team knows they can do. We can do this. And that goes a long way. And it's not a half-ass. In years past, it was, yeah, we could do this. This is no, we can do this. And there's a difference in the tone. Yeah, we can. And then, no, we will, basically. It's we can to we will. And we see it happening. And when we look in the mirror, we see future champions. 2 totally different perspectives from the locker rooms, and they see what we see. They look at the East, they look at the best teams in the league, and they go, what do they have that we don't? They might be different. They might be set up differently, But what do they have that we don't? That's right. Nothing. We're right there, if not better. And I love it. I love it. Thanks, Kenny, and thanks, Gucci, for the donations. With that, let's take another phone call here. Good evening. How are you tonight?
How's it going, bro?
It's going very well tonight. How's it going for you?
I'm all right. I called in the other night against the Timberwolves game, and it's just been another great day for me. I came in talking about Harden's gravity, but I want to ask you a question, bro.
Okay.
That's all right.
Yes, it is.
What do you think our playoff lineup would look like if we were to cut it down to like 7 or 8 guys? Who do you think would be like the 7 or 8 guys to play?
I've been screaming for 8 for a bit of time now, and I would have the starting rotation that it was tonight. I've been vocal about starting Danny Green. I think that's you can honestly change that based off of the night, but let's say it is what it is right now, which is a James Harden, a Tyrese Maxey, a Matisse Thybulle, a Tobias Harris, and Embiid. My 3 guys off the bench to make it an 8-man unit would then be Danny Green, George Niang, and then whoever your backup big man is. And then whenever James Harden's off the floor, because he's going to play 38 minutes, those 10 minutes could be staggered with a Tyrese Maxey at the 1.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Do you think there's any chance that Shake Milton makes the rotation towards the end of the year or no?
I'll be honest, he might be 9. It's probably a fight between Shake Milton and Furkan Korkmaz if they were to make it a 9-man rotation.
Yeah. I mean, just watching Korkmaz today, like
Stinks.
saying that Matisse Thybulle has better offense than Furkan Korkmaz is a disgrace.
Yeah.
I don't think that's acceptable at all, considering that Matisse really all he does is cut to the basket, but Korkmaz couldn't even do that. He's not athletic enough to do that, and his shots have not been falling this season.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I had people chiming in asking me about how come Isaiah Joe's not playing over Furkan. And I get it because I would rather see Isaiah Joe at this point too. But I guess for me is there's so much great things happening and there's so much joy around what matters most, which is the top tier talent on the team that in my eyes, Furkan or Isaiah Joe, I mean, that's almost irrelevant debate or irrelevant. I'm talking regular season, obviously. It's like, okay, maybe in a regular season game against the Knicks, I would have liked to see an Isaiah Joe over Furkan. But if we're talking about going to win a championship, how irrelevant is that conversation? But that was somebody else who brought that up. I think your point of an 8-man rotation, that's what I would like to see. And thank you so much. It's a great thing to definitely think about. I would rather it go with an 8-man over 9. I feel Doc Rivers loves the 9-man rotation, if not even more at times, unfortunately. But he'll probably, I don't know, it would be a battle between a Furkan or a Shake, and I feel better about Shake, which is, by the way, awful. If I feel better about Shake Milton than you are atrocious and absolutely pathetic because Shake Milton ain't high on my list either. But based off of what Furkan is supposed to be, which is just to stand there and shoot kind of guy, if we're thinking about spacing, is that maybe a reason why he would win that 9th slot over somebody else? And I wouldn't be surprised to see him go 9 deep in the first round of the playoffs or anything like that. I prefer 8. I believe it'll probably be 9. So who knows? Maybe that is someone you see. And that's tragic for sure. But then I go back to every team has their flaws. Every team has their issues. If Furkan played 3 minutes, I would have to imagine that if Embiid and Harden and Tyrese Maxey played to the level that they're capable of playing, which is something similar to what we saw tonight, something similar to what we saw in Minnesota, and let's be realistic, tonight wasn't even perfect. All right, they had some ugly moments. They had some New York Knicks runs and some offensive rebounds that kept the Knicks possessions alive at MSG, which was very frustrating, and some shots made that definitely bothered you, whether it was, RJ Barrett or whoever it was, right? So there was some third quarter stretches that made you sick. It wasn't the greatest, but if they maximize who they can be together, those 3 minutes of Furkan Korkmaz won't be the difference in you winning or losing that basketball game. It will come down to the 40 minutes of play by Embiid and Harden and Maxey and Tobias, and then your backup big man minutes, and they matter. They don't matter as much as the 40 minutes of the prime, but you get my point. Obviously, context matters, but just how I analyze it from more of a broad view prior to seeing it fully. Niang had some big threes today, though, in the early stages of the game. The all bench, I had it written down here. At one point, they went Harden, Furkan, Green, Niang, Millsap. And the New York Knicks started to surge a little bit, but there was a couple step-back threes. There was a drive to the basket, which resulted in some James Harden free throws. And he just knew how to calm the game down. He really did. There were people who believed that Harden would take away from Embiid. Do you realize that when elite players play together, they figure out how to win? Now, I know in New York, things got a little tough for the Brooklyn Nets and all, but when they were actually together, their record was fine. When guys started to miss games, and then you had to play a lot more time with some bench pieces, it definitely ended up resulting in a horrible losing streak for the Brooklyn Nets. And there's a lot of internal issues there. The buy-in factor, that obviously bothered James Harden. There's no lack of buy-in factor here at this point. In fact, it's the complete opposite, and everyone's bought into like the most insane level of degree, which is always fantastic and what you need to win a championship. So now that you're here, you thought that it would make Embiid worse? Well, will he win MVP? Of course. He has a chance to play with an elite point guard. 16 dimes. He had 12 dimes his first game. And by the way, he just looks at this as messing around. I'm just out there playing. I don't even know plays. I don't even know offensive sets. I don't even know where fully everything is. I'm just out there letting it flow. I mean, this is him letting it flow. What are we talking about here if this is going to hurt Joel Embiid? Hurt him? How? How would teaming up Joel Embiid with a position that the team didn't even have hurt them? They didn't have a point guard. So let me get this straight. Somehow gathering a point guard, a future Hall of Famer, someone who's unbelievable, an elite passer, the way that he functions facilitating in a half court is elite. It's elite. To the point where players don't even know, and they're not even aware of, well, do I get a ball? Oh, my God, the ball just popped up right here in my breadbasket. Let me shoot it. Paul Millsap did that once today, where he's in the dunker spot. James Harden does a fake step back. He pretends to go up with it, pump fakes too, and then he kicks it to Paul Millsap, who looked kind of almost like, holy hell, let me shoot this. Let me just shoot this holy hot potato, and it goes in. Like, players aren't even fully aware if they can get it or not. That'll come. That'll come with time, where they're definitely more established with Harden and realize, like, oh, I know it's coming now, compared to, is it coming now? I know it's coming, compared to, is it? Same thing, very similar to in years past, maybe we could win, and now it's, we are going to win. That's where James Harden's at. So feeding the big man, one of the best to ever do it, is somehow going to hurt him when he had to run point center, and Furkan Korkmaz gave you 20 minutes of real point guard play. Well, it wasn't real point guard play because he's a disaster, but he played that position. Somehow, that was going to be worse. Fascinating. Very fascinating. With that, I want to hear from you and how fascinated you are with the Sixers. So let's go to the phones. Good evening. Welcome. You are on the air.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
I was mad at the all bench lineup because Furkan can't do nothing. Shea can clearly play. I mean, it's a disaster. It really is a disaster.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that a lot anymore. I mean, they did that in the Minnesota game, and thank you so much for the call. They did that in the Minnesota game, and that was when they were up 25, 28 points. They went to a lineup today that was Harden, Furkan, Green, Niang, and Millsap in the early stages of the first quarter. You got to find a way to have Embiid and to have James Harden, one of the two on the floor at all times. You know, I don't like when it's a Tobias or a Maxey, and one of those two aren't on. We have seen that in the short-lived time. Well, I did just bring up the fact that we saw the all bench against Minnesota, but it's too obvious. It's too smacking you in the face if you're Doc Rivers to not properly assess this rotation. There's four guys. Now, Tobias, yeah, I mean, he's kind of what he is, but there's a way to have Embiid, Maxey, and Tyrese. The combination of those three players finding a way to filter that through a 48-minute span to always have someone reliable on the floor. It's too damn right there, wide-eyed, staring Doc Rivers. You know how you have the angel and then the devil on your shoulders, and you look at one and they're telling you something, you look at the other and it tells you something else, and you go, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do. This is almost like there's two angels. Doc, there's two angels on your shoulders. One's Joel Embiid, the other's James Harden. It's impossible. And they're both telling you, play me. And then when I'm sitting, play me. And then when he's sitting, play me. And then when we're playing together, play us both. It's just that simple, Doc. Do it. There's no way to screw this up. It's got to be physically impossible, Doc. Even someone who doesn't have the biggest faith in the world. It's sort of like, and I love using examples today, with Howie Roseman and Devontae Smith. You know that I'm more supportive towards Howie Roseman than most in this city, but there becomes a time in the draft where you are drafting very high, where it becomes Howie proof, and where the Eagles selected last year in the first round, as bad as his track record is, at some point the draft, you're sitting in a spot where it's impossible to screw it up. There are 6 or 7 or 8 fantastic pieces sitting right there. Devontae Smith was there. You snag it. You can't screw it up. Take him. And they did. With Doc Rivers, I almost look at this rotation as it's too obvious you can't screw this up. And that's where I'm at with the situation of the rotation. Chaos with $5. Are Embiid and Harden the new Shaq and Kobe? But I think it's fair to discuss them at a very, very insane high level. You know, Kobe and Shaq have obviously accomplished the goal and dominated for a, good stretch of time and have hardware to support it. They have the potential to be one of the best. And knowing that this era of basketball, while Jokic is a great big man and Embiid's a big man, that's fantastic. It's not an era that is normally accustomed to being dominated by that. It's a lot more wing play, a lot more guard heavy, a lot more point guards that let it fly and shooting a lot of threes. So it's rare to see this. So from just the angle of a big man and a guard, then yeah, they obviously can be in that tier as long as they roll through the playoffs the way that I feel that they can. Kobe and Shaq, though, it's a pretty high bar. But the fact that we can sniff it from here, we can sniff that bar, it's closer than you think. It's a good spot to be in. That's for damn sure. Back to the phones. Hello. Good evening.
Hey, what's up, bros?
What's up, man?
I just want to ask a question. How important is getting the 1 seed for this specific team? Obviously, we got the 1 seed last year with Simmons and everything. That didn't work out. Lost in the second round. But with this current team with Harden and Embiid being the 1 and 2, how important, if at all, is getting the 1 seed in this specific playoffs in this specific year?
I actually think that's a great question. And honestly, it's not extremely high for me, like how important. What I think is going to happen is they'll finish 1, 2, or 3. They'll be in that range. And weirdly enough, not that this means I want to be in a position to play more away games, but their road record has been way more tremendous than their home record this year. And you alluded to it. You were first in the East before, and that doesn't mean much because you had an issue with the way that your team was operated due to one man who's afraid to play the sport of basketball. You don't have that right now. So even if you did end up in the 3rd seed and maybe you had to be on the road for a series that you would have loved to be home for, you have talent that can win on the road. This team has special talent. Special talent does it home or away. That doesn't mean you're not at a disadvantage. But if they're in that first 3 range or so, if it's not necessarily the first, I think you're fine. You're 21-10 on the road. You're 16-13 at home. For this team, you can get by even if you don't have the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I would say that, but still, it would be really nice to have the Eastern Conference playoffs come through Philly. I mean, that would be awesome. It's just really nice that we have a real player in Harden and a guy who's not faking a back injury right now.
No, you are right, though. Obviously, having the first seed is way better than not, which is the alternative. And, getting that is fair. And I do believe that this home record will pick up now that James Harden's here. This city is about to go into a whole new level of excitement. We think we're excited now. Wait till the games are actually being run through the Wells Fargo Center for some of these regular season games. And I feel that and thank you so much for the call, I think that this team's going to take another step forward with their game in their home arena on their home floor, no doubt about it, just based off of what we've seen before. When they played with J.J. Redick and Jimmy Butler, you were afraid to play in Philadelphia. This season, you weren't afraid to play in Philly. You knew it would be harsh. You knew it would be a lot, and you know that a lot of fans go crazy, but it was still missing a gear. It was maybe at 7.5, where we're used to seeing it at 9 or 10. Now it's probably going to be 15, and I would imagine that it will get as reckless as it once did in previous seasons because of what the beard provides from just an entertainment value. But to answer your question in terms of the postseason, 1, 2, 3, at this point, their style of play, and I'll go right back to what I said earlier in the show. Whether you beat Minnesota, whether you lose to the Knicks, it really isn't about the win or the loss on this specific night early in March or late in February. It's not about that. It's does this stylistically matter, or does this, sorry, I'm kind of losing a little bit of brain cells here. I've been doing a lot today, and it's getting a little late at night here. But does the style of play, does it work in important moments in a basketball game? Absolutely. The style of play works. And they have players that can execute this said style on the road. Doesn't matter to me. They're not young players anymore that are afraid of the moment. Now, Maxey is, and Thibel's still young, but James Harden is ready to go win now at age 32. Joel Embiid, he's hitting that late 20 spurt, and now it's that go-getter time. All these teams that win championships, they got to go on the road and win tough games. Hell, the Atlanta Hawks last year won a lot of road games to get to where they got. Not that we're going to fall into a position where in the second round of the playoffs, we're playing a team that has someone that's scared to play the sport, and that's what it took for the Atlanta Hawks to get there. So I don't anticipate that. I'm not afraid, though, of playing on the road. I'm just not. Teams that are ready to win can absolutely win on the road. Now, we got a text coming in from a no-name here on the Anytime Hotline. Yo, bros, I'm not a Tobias Harris hater, but think of how many times you had to say this. This isn't who Tobias is. At a certain point, it is. No, it's not. I mean, literally, I've said that this year, but I also break down every single game, and I talk about this team on off days, and sometimes I'm still referencing the same game, but I just talk a lot about the said same game. I'm not going to allow let's say, 40 games to override 10 years in the NBA. So that's why it's different. This year, you could have a bad year and that not be who you are over 10 years. So even if it's a full 82 and I keep saying that's not who he is, that could still be very true. Now, to continue, we can say we won 16 or so from him, but it's not really every night. Well, it was for 5 weeks. It just is going back a little bit right now, and it's discomforting for sure. This is who Tobias is at least sometimes. This year, but this has never been a thing. And there was a time where James Harden this year was worse than what he is really capable of doing. And now it seems he has snapped out of it a little bit more than when he was in Brooklyn. And it's going to take time to learn and adjust a whole entire new team. Everyone was definitely calling out the Boston Celtics. They stink. They're awful. They're pathetic. They'll never be good. And they gave the head coach a handful of games to really kind of work with some things. And now, all of a sudden, they look like a totally better team. Maybe because it just takes time for players to kind of refine themselves. And sometimes you go through bad spurts, and then you have to pick yourself back out of it. Tobias Harris went through a 5-week span of really good basketball where every night I wasn't saying this isn't who Tobias Harris is. You're just pointing out the beginning part of the season, which was definitely a disastrous time for him and the worst we've seen out of Tobias to this point. But it's not who he is. It's not. And 10 years of NBA basketball says that. I'm not just making that up at anywhere. So where are we now? We're going to his game log. The date. Okay, January, February. So he went through a stretch, and that Boston game, everyone pointed out, the whole team was a terrible, terrible basketball team. He had 6 points. So take that game out of it. Here's his shooting. 19 points, 11 points, 17, 30, 23, 18, 31, 23, 33, 18, 20, 21. There was a 13 sprinkled in there. So there were a lot of games dating back to January 21st, 21 points, 20 points, 33 points, 23 points, 31 points, 18 points, 23 points, 30 points, 17 points. He went through a lot of good games. I will stand by saying this is not who he is. He's the scapegoat. He's the guy that everybody just despises just to despise. He's having tough moments. Tough moments are coming at a high clip right now for Toby. But you can't just rule out and forget about when he did do well. He went through a really good time of basketball this year, then hit the All-Star break, and now with the new floor general, the first 2 games, he took 9 shots each game, went 2 of 9 and 3 of 9. We'll see how it plays out. But you also don't need to demand him, where last year we ruled him into the All-Star category, and he was an All-Star snub, and we were pissed off that he got robbed of that moment. And he closed out games at will last year. At will. At will. Don't let recency bias tell you that that wasn't true. Now, is that who he really is? No, he probably wasn't a consistent guy. And his 10 years of basketball will tell you that he probably wasn't as good and as efficient closing out games as he was last season. But it's somewhere in between, and it's somewhere in the middle. And is it worth his money? No, it will never be worth the money. But it doesn't mean that he won't have any relevance on this team's success, or he won't have any sort of positive play throughout there. They'll have some tough moments. I gotcha. But we also got James Harden and Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And with the combination of these dudes right now, they'll figure this out. They'll work through some things. Last year, Toby shot 37% from 3 in the playoffs. I don't care what the volume is, but if the efficiency is there, it won't be the same amount of shots. He averaged over 21 points per game in the postseason last year on about 18 shots. Won't be the same amount of shots, but if it could be the 37% from 3, well, then we're on to something. But he hesitates right now. He did hit that big 3, though, in the end of the game. That's for damn sure. Let's see here. No, he's not. He legit disappears. That is literally how teams lose championships. What LeBron was able to do with no names at times was not normal. I'm not comparing this roster to a Cleveland Cavaliers team with Matthew Dellavedova, because that's not who they have, Tyreek. We need Tobias to have 15 per game. Okay, last year he was basically at 22. Last year you round up, he was at 22. It was like 21.8 points per game. You're saying you need him to get 15, and you're worried about him getting that because of 2 basketball games right now? I mean, let's talk about how bad of a season he's having to everybody out there. So even with this bad season, right, he's averaging, and obviously it's different now because of the primary ball handler, but he's averaging 18.4. So right now he's averaging 18.4 points per game, and he's having a down year. So this is him in the awful state. This is him on the awful state. But he also had good stretches that people just aren't giving him credit for. Look, I don't want to waste my time arguing about Tobias Harris when I see that this team can win a championship. James Harden's pick and roll and his ability to let the game come to him and slow the game down and have a real pure offense being ran. Tobias will make his shots. They'll eventually start falling for him. I know it will. I've seen it too many times. So it'll happen. Joel and him, the combination of those two and their ability to really form a dynamic duo right now that nobody wants to see. Yeah, I get it. I truly get it. I understand why they're obsessed with getting on the floor with each other, because they know that no matter who you are, you're seriously going to have all sorts of nightmares, and it will cause you a lot of trauma thinking about the next time that you see one another on the basketball floor. And that's amazing. It really is. Let's go to the phones.
Yo, bro, 7-6 is for life, win or lose. 7-6 is for life. And it was a nice win today. James Harden is showing why he was worth the trade. I'm seeing immediate results, like especially in the fourth quarter when no one was scoring, and he went on that got us those quick 5 points. He got us a 3-pointer and a layup. That's what he was brought here for. To, like, when we go on those droughts, he can score for us. We finally have a closer. We finally can play 5-on-5. Like you've been saying, we haven't been playing all these years with Mr. You-Know-Who gone. But I'm not going to raise my expectations yet, bros. But on these 2 games, bros, it's kind of getting hard not to get excited about the playoffs, okay? it's kind of hard not to get excited.
You should get excited. There's no reason not to. Don't hold back. Why? What is stopping you from breaking through that cage and allowing all the emotions to pour out? We should be thrilled. We should be honored to be witnessing this. The team, there's a relationship between the guys in the locker room and the head coach, the guys in the locker room and just your teammates as a whole. And then there's a relationship between the players and the fans, and we help them and they help us. And there's a reason why we should give them every ounce of support in terms of we feel you. They know they can win a championship. We have that same confidence in you, and that matters. This relationship between the team and the city. Let them know. Let them know that we support you 1,000%, and we see exactly what you see, which is dominant play. The only pushback I have is, are we really playing 5-on-5? I don't know. And I hope that Maxey or that Matisse can work. I really do. I hope he can, because you see how disruptive he is out by the perimeter and how much that puts teams in uncomfortable positions where he's getting his fingertips on the ball. Here's a fast break, easy bucket for maybe a Shake Milton or whoever else is on the floor. There was a goaltending on the one that he had. It looked like he was going up a little too easy, but it did hit the backboard first. Anyway, though, this team, Matisse Thybulle, offensively, you might be able to make up for his issues with the superstar play, for sure, as long as he cuts enough. 3 buckets, 3 cuts. Can you live off of 3 cuts? But I've seen defenders 90 feet off of Matisse Thybulle. So I don't know. I think the answer could be yes, because Kevin Durant almost willed the Brooklyn Nets past the Bucks last year, and he had nobody. You have Embiid and Harden. Can you will the team past the squad with the deficiencies of Matisse Thybulle? I think it's very possible. I'm not ruling it out by any means. We'll see, though. We'll see how it plays. Yeah, I see the chat going. Everyone just despises Tobias Harris. You can focus on that all you want. I'm focusing on James Harden and Joel Embiid. It would be foolish to take your energy from what this team can do and just rip it to shreds as if Tobias Harris is the full-on difference maker. No, him playing well. They just won, and look at how they closed out games and did fine with him playing poorly and also coming up with a very clutch shot. That definitely mattered. But this team, Joel Embiid and James Harden, that's what it comes down to. You have those two, you're involved. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to critique the guy. I'm not wasting my energy tonight on that when I see something that long-term is going to work. This offense can be operated. We just witnessed for years and years and years an offense that was good but had limitations. You couldn't even run a damn pick and roll in the NBA. That's almost vomit-worthy to say out loud, but it was real, and it matters that you couldn't run that. It was still a good offense. You were 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Finals, and quite frankly, you should have still won, even with Ben Simmons being a major issue. You still should have beat the Atlanta Hawks in that 7-game series, so you could have gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals with those deficiencies, and that's what talent does for you. You can beat over deficiencies with special talent. But now it just takes it to the next level when you're eliminating the deficiency of a half-court set. It's hard to go farther than where you were when your point guard stops at the 3-point line, hands it off, and then goes stands in the corner and does nothing for possession after possession after possession. But even with that, look how close they were to the Eastern Conference Finals. So think about where they were and now add in where they are. And then change your opinion on maybe how far they can go. We got Perk with a $5 donation. Cavs, Heat, Bulls, and Nets coming up. Excited for sure. What do you think their record would be after those 4 games? I don't know. One of those is a back-to-back where it's a home game in Philadelphia, and then you're going to Miami, although we did see a Celtics-Miami series like that earlier this season, and the Sixers handled business rather nicely. Well, I don't know. I mean, a 2-2 obviously would probably be the minimum. And then anything better than that is what it is. If they go 4-0, the city's going to lose their damn mind. But I think just based off of one of them being a Philly to Miami thing, and it's a back-to-back, and, you know, it's just that type of thing where you're 82 games, you lose games that you want to win, you win games you think you're going to lose. 3-1 would be my guess, but 2-2 would be my floor. Not that I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm also not putting too much stock into the result. It's not about the results right now. It obviously is something that you want to do. You want to win, but it's, does this style make sense? And what they can do, does it make sense to big moments? And it absolutely does. This team running this style of offense can work in the playoffs. We didn't necessarily say that about a lot of our other offenses throughout time under Ben Simmons. $5 more coming in from Daniel. Wednesday feels so far away. I can't wait this long. And that's what this team does. The fact that you now have this urge and this sense of urgency of, I need basketball. I need this team to play. They're must watch. I can't wait. And even when it becomes Wednesday, you wake up and it's, let's say, 10 a.m., 9:30 a.m. You have your cup of coffee. What are you doing? You're looking at the clock nonstop every moment, just waiting for the game. It's all you can think about. That's when you know. And I use the Eagles as the team to look at as where we're at. Back in 2017, they beat Charlotte. Carolina Panthers. They beat the Carolina Panthers on Thursday night. They went into Denver and they smacked the Broncos. Or that was a home game against the Broncos, but they played Denver and they beat the Broncos heavily. Then you realize there's something here. This feeling that we have watching this team, and as Daniel just brought up here, and thank you so much for the $5, the fact that we can't wait for the next game to this level of regular season basketball, that's how you know, and that's the aha light bulb moment of, we have something special here. All right, let's take another one.
Well, Rhodes, I just got back from the game. Great game by the Sixers. You know, seeing Harden in person, you can really see how he manages you can really see how he's amazing for a general. I saw a stat, James Harden, the next person who had the most assists on the team, was tied for two assists, and Harden had like 16, right? It's all around great game. You know, Tyrese Maxey, another great game. Sad to see Tobias Harris struggling again. Embiid getting to the line like 30 times. That's crazy. All around great win. Can't wait to see this duo perform more in the future. And go Sixers.
I feel the same exact way. So it looks like you made a little trip there. That's exciting to go to Madison Square Garden. I've never been to Madison Square Garden, but I am highly anticipating Wednesday night when I will be at the Wells Fargo Center, taking in all of the atmosphere and probably just smiling from ear to ear in all of what we get to witness with this squad. 16 dimes. I mean, I have a whole entire list here of the patience that James Harden brings, whether it's the pick and pop with Joel, the pick and roll, which has already taken 5,000 strides in the direction that we anticipated that it would, but it's magnificent to see, reading the defense, stopping the bleeding, a true pro when the game's getting out of hand, or not really out of hand, but when you sense the other team is going on their run, who can stop it and who can slow the game down? Well, James Harden's here. The 5 steals, the 16 dimes. What did I type here? I put in my notes, 16 dimes. Oh, making Embiid worse. Okay, I'm like, what? Embiid worse? No. But yeah, that's really where I'm at with this basketball team. When adversity hit in Madison Square Garden, they had the response that they were looking for, and someone who struggled all night made a crucial 3. Tyrese Maxey wanted the moment. When the hell did I ever anticipate a team with James Harden and Joel Embiid where Maxey would be the guy that says, don't worry about it, step back in the eye? Come on. This guy averaged 30% from 3 last year. Now he's doubling his attempts and also adding about 9% to his completion. I want it on the road. It's mine. Come on. It's outrageous. It really is. And with that being said, we're going to shut things down here. If you are new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up button as well. Follow me on TikTok at Broads Media. We're incorporating a lot there. It's a ton of fun. And then lastly, SeatGeek. If you're looking to buy tickets, go on Wednesday. You can go to SeatGeek.com and then in checkout, use promo code BROADS for $20 off of your purchase, which is a no-brainer. Get yourself to a game today. I'm basically giving you a free $20. Promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page. I want to thank everybody for calling into the show, for chatting into the chat room, and we'll obviously continue this conversation throughout the week until Wednesday. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.